Hey everyone, it's Sarah the Redneck Bifocal Stitcher. Welcome to my Flosstube, a channel all about cross stitch. Today is July 7th and this is episode number 12. If you're new, if you've been here since day one or anywhere in between that, welcome back. I'm truly grateful to have you here with me, listening to me talk about my stitching and sharing just little updates about my life along with everything else. So welcome. In June, I stitched a lot of my emotions because I had a lot of things happen. So yeah, there were days where I would pull something out thinking, yeah, I think I'll work on this. And then I'd put maybe a half hour's worth of stitching in, which, as many of you know, is not a whole lot. And then I'd feel like, okay, this isn't it. So I'd move on to the next, and then I'd move on to the next. So I did a lot of stitching, but not a whole lot of work on one piece, you know what I mean? So yeah, stitched my emotions. So I figured with as many different pieces that I worked on, might as well do a whip parade, especially since it's the middle of the year. And a lot of people do that with their floss tubes right now. So I am going to go out of order first and tell you that I did have a finish. Last month I finished All Things Grow with Love, which is that piece from Primrose Cottage Designs. I stitched it with my wedding, the year that we got married, and our initials on it. And it is actually at the framer right now. So I will share that with you the next time I film. And then while I was there, I also dropped off Pretty Little Amsterdam. My mom is in Europe right now on her trip, and so I thought it would be fun to have that hanging on the wall for her when she got home. And then while I was there, I also picked up two other pieces that I had dropped off. The first one is That's No Moon. This is the piece I just finished for my husband. This was designed by the Witchy Stitcher, and it is available on her website. It's a little bit farther down. I know if you go to like page 5 or 6, it's probably that far down on her list of designs, but it is still available. This is just a pre-made frame that I had my framer use, and then she made the mat to fill in some of the negative space. And then my husband has this sitting in all of his Star Wars memorabilia, and he was really surprised to see it, had no idea I was working on it. And yeah, he was really happy to see this. So That's No Moon from the Witchy Stitcher. And then I also picked up a new Constellation from Plum Street Samplers, and I'll try and get it focused on this. I decided to choose a frame that was kind of a low profile, but I really like how this looks. It's got a woodsy, grainy, leathery look to it, and I think it complements it really well. I opted to do a smaller frame just because there's so much going on in this piece that I didn't want anything to detract from it. So here it is. I'm just so happy with how this looks. I think this is a picture of this plus fabric that I used, but I don't remember. I kitted this up quite a while ago and I just didn't have it written down, but here it is. I'm so happy with it. I love it. I love the border. Oh, it's just so fantastic. I will be entering this into the Utah State Fair this year, and hopefully they will comment on my stitching and not so much my choice of frame. I don't know why. If you're one of the judges, don't listen to me right now, but the judges like to point out framing choices. I don't know if it's just me that they do that too. It's almost like every year they comment my frame choice, which that's not what I'm submitting to be judged, but whatever. Anyway, so that's all I have for FFOs and finishes. So let's get started with this whip parade. I am going mostly in the order of just how I have things written down in my notebook, but I am going to show you my two oldest whips first, and then I'll go with my newest whip, which I'm absolutely loving. You'll notice, maybe not, there are several pieces that I included in my first whip parade that are not in this whip parade that I have not shared as finishes. When I got my diagnosis back in March, I took a long, hard look at all of my current whips and even some of the things that I had kitted up and waiting in the wings, and went through and prioritized and said, you know, this is something that I'm never going to get around to stitching. This is something that I kitted up, but now I'm on the fence about it. So some things I've gotten rid of through stash unloading. There are other projects that are being adopted by friends. And I'm more than happy to do that. Your tastes change over the years, and I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with letting things go. If, like the Marie Kondo concept, if it doesn't bring you joy, let it go. And it's not that these things were not bringing me joy. I loved stitching on them, and then it just, some of these things became more of an obligation because of how much time I had put into it already. And I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to allow these things to weigh me down. So I've let them go, and it really is liberating. It's great. So, oh, here we are. Let's get started. I filmed yesterday, actually, and then I went to stitching group over at Stitchery Express. I do live in the Layton area of Utah, which is about 20 minutes north of Salt Lake City. Stitchery Express is owned by Cindy Sorley, and she has a stitching room where a bunch of us meet every Saturday to just spend time stitching together. It's kind of like a mini retreat. It's great. So I went yesterday and I took this oldest whip, and then when I got home I thought, well, I just filmed, but then I just put, 4 hours of work into this. So I'm just going to refilm, because why not? That makes total sense. So anyway, here is Crystal Christmas. And of course the board isn't big enough, but you know what it looks like. Oh, this bad boy. It's a big one. So yeah, I spent a good 4 hours beading yesterday, and as I'm beading, I'm looking at it thinking, is this even making a difference? Can you even tell that I've put anything in? So when I first showed this to you last year, there was little to no beading at all. I had done just a little bit down here. These were done, and then I had just kind of a few things done on this girl right here. But over time, I've added more things, and it's really hard to tell, especially here on camera. But yesterday, I spent a good portion of time working on these three right in the middle. Let me see if I can get this to work right for me. But I spent a good chunk of time working on this section. Just beads in the crown right here, beads in this little flower arrangement, but this thing's getting heavier and heavier as I'm adding more beads. Oh yeah, I got this little spot in right here, and then some beads that go up into this floral section. But I'm trying not to think while I've got you sitting right here. I don't think I have much more beading to go. There are some wispies that I need to wispies that I need to stitch. But this is with the number 8 Krynic braid. And I think what I'm going to do is use my number 4 braid and just get it done. It's less bulky. When I kitted this up back in 1999, 2000, whenever that was, the only thing available was the number 8, I believe. And so that was my only option. It's really bulky. It's really hard to use, especially on a linen. So I'll just switch things out, but I am very, very close to being done this time. When I first showed this, I thought, oh, it's just going to be a couple of days and then I'm good. But no, I've put a good 2 more weeks into this probably. So I'm getting closer and I'm super excited. I still have, you know, one little stitch. Like I noticed a stitch right here. You can see an empty spot where I missed a stitch. I have just a few places around there. I've made notations on my pattern and I'm just excited. So this will be a finish soon. By the end of the month, I don't know, but soon. It'll be soon. And then my next oldest WIP is Royal Holiday. This is also from Mirabilia. And I have not, I'll be honest, I haven't worked on her since I showed this to you in my first WIP parade. Here she is. She still is the same. I just have to do all this whisper in her cape, fill in with all the different sections of whisper, and then she'll be done with the stitching part, and then I get to start working on the beading. I did do a little bit of beading right here just so that I could see the effect. It really is gorgeous. I stitched her skin 1/1. I did. It looks really contrasted here. It's not as much, but there's no way I'd go back and change it at this point. But yeah, Royal Holiday. I believe I started her around the 2012. So once I get Crystal Christmas, that'll take me out. Once I get that finished, that'll take me out of the aughts. And then once I finish Royal Holiday, that will take me out of the early 2010s. And then from there, I don't know off the top of my head which is my oldest WIP. It's probably another Mirabilia, but I will be closer. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Next up is my newest WIP, and this, oh, I'm loving this so much. A lot of you have seen this. This is the Patreon release from the Artsy Housewife for June. It is for those people who are in her tier 4, and this is worth it right here. I love this design so much. I saw it, I saw the mock-up and I knew that I needed it. So I had the perfect piece of fabric. This is from a WIP that I had changed my mind on and decided that I wanted to repurpose the fabric. So I think this was one of my long designs and I just cut the bottom off because there wasn't a whole lot of space used up and I still had quite a bit of fabric left to use. And this is just such a good fabric for these colors. I know that I bought this at Shepherd's Bush, so if I can, I might just take this in and ask them if they recognize it, because I think this is what one of their models is stitched on, so I don't know. But oh my gosh, this piece is glorious. This is called Dream Within a Dream, and there is a sale going on right now, Within a Dream sale. I know that there are several people who are participating in it. If I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that I've seen quite a few people using the hashtag Within a Dream Sal. So there, yeah, there is, I don't know what I was gonna say. Anyway, I love this and I'm excited to keep working on it. Next up, I've got, I'm going to rely heavily on my notes just so that I don't miss any information that people might be curious about. So next up is Harvest Tiny Town. This is a heart and hand design, and I'm stitching this on Vintage Country Mocha. It's a 32 count. And here's all I have on that. I'm using all of the called for colors, and I think these are just so delightful. The last, I know I finished Halloween Tiny Town, and the one that I finished before that was, gosh, Valentine, the Big Hearted Tiny Town. There we go. And that was the piece that I worked on at Disneyland. And I pulled these out and I thought, well, you know, I got a lot of work done on Big Hearted Tiny Town because I was waiting in line in Disneyland. Maybe I should take another trip so I can get more progress done. But, well, I can only dream. So there's Harvest Tiny Town. And then I'm also mid progress on, I have about the same amount done on Honey of a Tiny Town. And this is also a 32 count piece of vintage country mocha. And I'm using all the called for flosses. Both of these pieces are being stitched 2/2. I love that blue. That blue is just a gorgeous color. I think it's blacksmith blue. But anyway, love it. There's my progress on that. Oh gosh. So, I had started Witchy Washi from Raise the Roof Designs. Here's what it looks like. And I had done the wording Witchy Washi, and then I had the 2 socks, and then I had the bloomers, and I think I had started on one other piece. I did the line, and then I moved the Q snaps. And I misunderstood or misread my marker indicating where the top corner was. And when I pulled it out of the snaps, I was at the wrong orientation. And this is the second time I've done this. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Big, big shame on me. So the progress that I've made on Witchy Washi since you last saw it is, ta-da! I've frogged all of it. This is my walk of shame. I love this fabric. It is a Fabrics by Stephanie Bewitched. I want to say, I don't know why I don't have it written down in my book, but here it is. I'm still going to stitch it. I just am going to save this and restart it closer to Halloween. So there's my progress and unprogress on Witchy Washi by Raise the Roof Designs. Oh well, it happens, right? Next up is Memento Mory. This is a Satsuma Street design. Love it. She's one of my favorite designers. And here's the progress that I've made up to now. I did stitch on this in June, and I started working on the skeleton or the skull face on the top. It looks a little more terrifying than it will when it's finished. That's for dang sure. So anyway, I'm using all the called for colors on this, just the DMCs. This is a 32 count piece of black linen, and I love it. I love this one so much. So Memento Mory by Satsuma Street. Next up is Malarkey and Shenanigans. This is a design by Cherry Hill Stitchery. I am stitching this on snowy white 32 count linen. There's the piece, and here's where I am. This was something that I started back in maybe March, it was kind of a, hey, we're almost at St. Patrick's Day, let me start something. And so here's what I did. Not a whole lot of colors, and all of the golds I think are charted with 780, DMC 780. And I decided to switch it up and use metallic for it, just because there's coins and the horseshoes and the pots of gold and everything. So not a lot of progress, but it was just something that I wanted to start. I was kind of feeling like I wanted to do something, and plus that was right around the time when I had just gotten my diagnosis, and I felt kind of floundering with a lot of things, so I just started it, I guess. But yeah, 32 count, 2 pieces of floss over 2. It's a great little piece. Next up is Babushkas Bees from Plum Street Samplers. And this is one that I'm stitching on a 36 count piece of Macchiato from Bestitch Me. This was one of her Fabric of the Month Club's pieces. I belong to her neutral Fabric of the Month Club, and I highly, highly recommend the Bestitch Me fabrics. Oh my gosh, they're great. Her colors are just so good, and I love everything that I've gotten from her in this Fabric of the Month Club. So here is where I am right now. I worked on this in June, and I added just this line right here, and then I finished this beehive or the skep, and then a couple more of the fence line. but I'm really thrilled with how this is turning out. This is a stitch that I'm working on with my friend Jessica of Down Allison Road on Instagram. We started this together at Stitch West in April at the Primrose Cottage, where they were the featured designers. So Jess and I started that together, and I'm excited. I get to see her at the end of this month. I'll be driving out to Kansas City. I will be taking my 11-year-old who's going to stay with my husband's sister, and they're going to have a little girls' weekend while I am at the camp. This year it's holiday, Black Needle Society retreat, so I'm excited for that. Next up is Stitchy Witchy Bell Pull. I picked this one up at Stitch West in October of 2023. This is stitched on a 40 count piece of spicy mustard from Fiber on a Whim. I love this fabric so much, and this design, everything about it is just so good. This is one of my favorites, and let me get this set up here nicely, but here it is. I don't know if I worked on this one in June, but I have worked on it since you've last seen it. I just love this so much. I'm just using one piece of floss over two, and there's only two colors in this, the black and the purple, and they go so well with this mustard color. I love it so much. Such a good piece, great design. I'm excited to have this done. Next up is Vintage Halloween Fair, I think. Yep, Vintage Halloween Fair. This was first released on the Witchy Stitcher Patreon. And this one I am doing on a 32 count piece of black pearl from Steel City Stitchers. And this is where I am now, and I tried ironing it. I think it's just been kind of repositioned so many times that some of the wrinkles came back, but this is I think I'm using a combination of Anchor and DMCs. I'm trying to use up, I have a full set of Anchor. There are a few colors that do not have Anchor. What is it that I'm thinking of? Like, Anchor doesn't have that color in their own line, whatever. So I'm just gonna substitute the rest with the DMC, but I'm really liking how this is going. I am using 2 pieces of floss over 2, and I like this one a lot. It's super cute. This is a fabric that has, it's got sparkles. I didn't like the sparkles very much, so I am stitching it on the other side, which is less sparkly. Then I have Miss Bingleys Library, which is another Plum Street sampler. This is one that I've got it set up right now where I could just hammer out a lot of stitching. I really should. I should just pull this out and sit and stitch on it, because I could get a lot done. Anyway, there's the design, and here's where I am right now. This is a 36 count piece of Affogato from Fiber on a Whim. There's a really good shot of how the fabric looks. I love these colors, the undertones and everything. It's such a great piece of fabric. So Miss Bingleys Library, because it's 36, I am using just 1 piece of floss over 2, and yeah, I think I've got a good setup for some good bulk stitching. So maybe I'll pull that out and work on it in the next little while. That would be a good retreat piece, because that's, you know how it is stitching at retreats. It's easier said than done. So next up is another Plum Street sampler. This, you know how you don't have favorite children, but you do. This is not my favorite whip, but it is. Live on Little. Oh, look how good this is. I love it so much. I love this design so much. The house is great. I love the ocean. I love the way she's charted the water. I love that boat. You'll be able to see it more clearly once I get the rest of the ocean stitched around it. But oh, this is such a great piece. This is a 36 count piece of Shrekie's tan from Needle Bling Designs. And I'm just using one piece of floss over two. Oh, love it. I love it so much. And I know Burn Stitches is starting this, and I'm so excited for her. Anytime I see someone stitching on this, it makes me excited, because if they're having half as much fun stitching on it as I am, then they're loving it oh so much. So yeah, Live on Little, not my favorite. It is my favorite. Next up is Nightingale from Mirabilia. And this one is being stitched on, I want to say that it's Mississippi Blue from Silk Weaver. I didn't get the name written down when I bought the fabric from Shepherd's Bush. They usually give you a card that looks like this when you buy from Shepherd's Bush, and they'll write down the title of the piece. Then they'll tell you who dyed the fabric, what the fabric color is, the count of the fabric, and then the cost, which, yeah, there's how much I spent on, a piece of fabric. I can't. Anyway, so yeah, I bought this fabric from Shepherd's Bush. I want to say that this is Mississippi Blue from Silk Weaver. I could be wrong, but if I am right, here's the fabric and here's my progress. All those little spots are where the beads are going to be, and I have this needle minder set right here so that I know which way is up. And I am on the right orientation. I like triple checked. And even after I started, I still triple checked, but I am going the right direction. So here is, gosh, Nightingale from Mirabilia. This is fantastic. This is 32 count, and I am using 2 pieces of floss over 2. And I can only work on this, as many of you who also stitch on dark fabrics know, your time is limited when you work on dark fabrics. And for some reason, I seem to be gravitating more to dark. I have so many things kitted up to start on black fabric. I bought a whole yard. Oh my gosh, I bought a whole yard of black fabric from 123 Stitch. What am I getting myself into? Those will come later on a kit parade. I've decided I need to do one of those too. Anyway, the next piece that I'm working on is folk flowers. I pulled out Nightingale in June. I worked on just a little bit on Live on Little in June. I worked on this in June. My stitching has been everywhere. There are loose threads. I am mid-frogging right now. There is one little section where I stitched just an extra row. It's an easy fix, but here it is. I love the colors of this, and the more I stitch, the more it just makes sense and looks prettier. How else can I say it? So here's where I made the mistake. I just did an extra row up here. I need to frog it out. I try to salvage my floss, especially with just as small an area that needs to be frogged. And then here's where my Q-snap ended. I didn't want to finish off my floss only to keep going, because this line keeps going up higher. Same with down here. This line keeps going below. So waste not, want not. It's only DMC, but still, I try to be conservative with my supplies. So this is a 28 count piece of chalkboard linen. And let me see if I'm missing anything else. Nope, that's it. So next up is Octopus Garden from Blackbird Designs. I've already stitched 3 of the 6 designs in the Magical Mystery Tour. I've done Strawberry Fields Forever, Eleanor Rigby, and Yellow Submarine. And next in line is this piece for my daughter, who is a huge Beatles fan. This is the 3rd time that I've started this. And for some reason, I've got it in my mind that if I keep restarting it, these colors are going to work out. And as you can see, they don't. Not as well as how they looked in the original model. And of course, that was stitched a while back ago, and these are the same flosses, but the dye lots have changed a little bit. There's a similarity to Moss and Endive from the Gentle Art, and there's a very close similar colors to Garden Gate and Tin Bucket, and that's where I've run into these issues. Garden Gate and Tin Bucket, there are two different colors right here in the arms of the octopus, very slightly noticeable, but right here you can tell that there's two different flosses, but in these other leaves and even in the trunk of the tree up in here, you just don't notice it as much. This time around, I'm just gonna leave it. I don't want to fussy cut my floss because it's on the pricier side. In the grand scheme of things, it's not, but it is. So you know what I mean. I'm just gonna have to fussy cut to try to make things a little more noticeably different. But yeah, I just need to keep plugging away on this. So Octopus Garden, and then this one is this is Twilight Blue from Wish Out, and I had originally chosen I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I did buy a piece of the suggested linen and it didn't work out. It was too green and I wanted something that looked more watery, so that's why I chose this Twilight Blue. And it's a 32 count. I'm doing 2/2 with all of the called for flosses. Next up is another Mirabilia, and I love this one so much. I know a lot of you are working on her. Some of you have finished her. I know Melina of Count Twice Stitch Once has finished her Elana, and Hannah Wolstenholme, have you finished yours yet, or are you really close? I can't remember, but yeah, Princess Eliana, Mirabilia, just gorgeous. She used all of the 35 new colors that DMC released around the same time. And I knew that when I stitched her, I did not want to choose a piece of fabric that competed with the design. There's so much going on in this design. I didn't want more noise, so I chose to use the called for fabric, which is Peaceful Purple, and it's just such a great stitch. I'm loving her so much. This is one where I've enjoyed, this is a process stitch for me. I've just really enjoyed working on her. I think I'm pretty much done with the back side. There might be a few extra stitches that I need to throw in at the back right there. But up here, what I did work on during June was this little section of her dress. This is the front. And then we come up here and her torso's right here. So I'm getting really, really close, and I'm excited about finishing this one. Next up is Sleeping Bee from the Blue Flower. This is when I'm stitching on a 40 count piece of Picture This Plus Wren, and I'm using all of the called for flosses. I'm using one strand of floss over 2, and I have a little progress. This is one I don't pull out as frequently. I'm not sure why. Probably because it's in one of my smaller project bags and it just kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Another benefit of doing a whip parade is realizing, oh, I haven't pulled that one out for a while. Just like Miss Bingley's Library, this is one that could stand to use more work and see the light of day more frequently instead of being, you know, rolled up in a bag. So maybe I'll keep this out for July and work on it. I love the Blue Flower Bees. She does such a great job. She's one of my favorite designers. I've got several of hers that I want to do, a couple that I have kitted up, and just need to get going. Let's see. Next up is Welcome Foolish Mortals from the Witchy Stitcher. This is a piece that I am doing on a 32 count Be Stitch Me fabric in the color Nightmarish. This fabric came in one of the black needle boxes. It may have been I think it was one of their Halloween trick-or-treat boxes. I'm bummed this year. I made an adult decision to not get their trick-or-treat boxes this year, as well as their nice list box, because I wanted to make sure that all of my medical bills took priority, which, gosh, that really sucks, but it's what you do. But I'm sure for those of you who are getting the box, you're going to love what you have. This fabric was so good to open and see. So here is my progress on Welcome Foolish Mortals. This is the mouth of the door knocker. Down here it will have the saying. This is great. I love Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. It's one of my favorite rides. I've got a few scrub caps and I have a few needle minders. You might see one here in the next couple whips. But I love Haunted Mansion memorabilia. I even have project bags with Haunted Mansion fabric. I love it so much. So this was a no-brainer for me. I love this fabric. This is a great design. Welcome Foolish Mortals by the Witchy Stitcher. And then I've got Goody Grimwood. This is a Plum Street design, and I am doing this on a 36 count piece of Legacy from Picture This Plus. I do have a hanging piece of floss. I pulled this out and worked on it for just a little bit during June. This was one of those, I worked on it for about half an hour and then decided I needed to see something else. I couldn't get my mind off of things. So I took just this strand of gray and I'm filling in the roof right here. But this is going to be such a great house. And then it's surrounded by a lot of bright oranges and greens, and gosh, I love this design so much. This is one that I thought, yeah, I like it. And then I saw it in person and changed my mind, knew I wanted to stitch it up. So here it is, Goody Grimwood. All the called for colors, everything. I love it. Then I have Jack Frost's Tree Farm, and this is on a 30 count piece of dark chino. This is that other whip that I had started and had it in the Q-snaps and then got my orientation wrong. And when I pulled it off the Q-snaps to move to a different section, I realized, oh yeah, I really messed up on this. So I figured that I had about an inch left at the bottom, and I was right. So that was a relief. For about 5 minutes, I thought about ripping out what I had already done, which was almost this entire section plus this panel. Why? Because that's how my brain works. But I didn't, and I don't have any regrets. We'll make this work. I already talked to my framer about it, and she said, yeah, that'll work. We can do it. So during June, I pulled out Jack Frost and worked on this little section right here. And I love how this is coming along. I love Little House when they do this kind of series. I know they have a Log Cabin Christmas out right now. Love it. So yeah, that's a 30 count piece of dark chino, and I'm using all of the called for colors 2/2. Yeah, 2/2. Next up, I have Coming to America from Brenda Gervais. This was available as a box kit in 2020. She had released it to commemorate the passage of the Mayflower to America, celebrating all of the women who came over. And I am related to one of the women, at least. I'll put her name below. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I was able to find out one. I think there's two, but here's where I am now on this. I pulled this out in June, worked a little bit on it, started working on the British flag up here. I completed the anchor, and then I started in on the boat itself. Did a little bit on the border. Everything that I am stitching was provided in the box. It's a 40 count piece of vintage country Mocha, and all of the called for flosses So this will be great. And it's a big one. Here's the total size of the piece or the fabric. So yeah, this will be great when it's done. I plan on stitching the one relative in a different color just so that I can differentiate her from the rest of the passengers. Next up is Tonight is Halloween from Kathy Barrick. I love her. This is on a 36 count piece of Meadow Rue Vintage, and that's from Lakeside Linens. And here's where I am on this. This is one that I started in October for the 13 Stitches of Halloween, and I love it so much. This has been fun to stitch. I love the colors. I love how that bat turned out. This is going to be relatively easy stitching because I believe that it's mirrored, that I've got another ghost over here and then a tree that flanks the other side as well. So this will be a good one to pull out in the next little bit. How many Fridays are there until Halloween? Isn't it like 13 or 14 at this point? But who's keeping track? Definitely not me. I am using one piece of floss over 2 on this one. Next up is Celebrate Halloween from Madame Chantilly. And this is one, I love all of the Madame Chantilly cake plate designs. She did a bunch several years ago, and I've seen them here and there. I saw this model, I can't remember where I saw it, but I loved it and I wanted to stitch it. So I picked it up, kitted it up. I'm using Barb's Blend. It's a 32 count Barb's Blend. And here's my progress on it. But this is one of my whips where I'm kind of on the fence. Do I want to keep going? Do I take a break? This might go into timeout. I've got about 4 other whips that I'm not showing today. They're in timeout because I'm still trying to decide if I want to keep going on them or not. This right here, it's kind of weird, but this is a pumpkin. It's going to be a black pumpkin, and there's a white ghost that sits in front of it. This is like a Ray Dunn style mug, and I think it says Boo on it. I really like this. I love the fabric. Barb's Blend is such a great fabric. But I'm not sure if I want to keep going. So we'll see. But here's my progress so far. Yeah. Okay, moving on. I have a Stitcher Haunts here, and here's my Haunted Mansion needle minder, and I have a loose thread. My apologies. This is a Stitcher Haunts here. This is a design from the Witchy Stitcher. This was one of my 13 Stitches of Halloween, and it's on a 36 count piece of Picture This Plus Legacy. I didn't do a whole lot, and this is one that's been sitting in a smaller bag, so it kind of gets lost behind everything else. But here's my Haunted Mansion needle minder. This did come from Mad for Minders. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that coming. But yeah, this is the design where she's got a color version and a sepia version, and I opted for the sepia. I just thought it looked a little more creepy, old-fashioned, and went better with the fabric. So there's my progress on that. Isn't it 13 or 14? I'm just gonna keep saying that now. 13 or 14 more until Halloween. Not that anybody's counting. Next up is, ew, that one's in timeout. The Beekeeper from Plum Street Samplers. This is a 40 count piece of silver lining from Seraphim Fabrics. And here's my progress on this. I had originally started this on a different piece of fabric and was doing the border, spilled some water on it accidentally, and had to restart because this red does bleed. So here's my progress on this. I think I pulled this out in June and maybe just did the bottom part of this little cart that the skep is sitting on, and then the top of this skep. So yeah, I worked on that for just a little bit. This is, of course, 1/1, or 1/2, sorry, with all of the called for colors. And then I have, that's a kit, Sam's socks, shorts, and such. And my ability to recall this fabric waxes and wanes. I think the last time I showed this, I remembered the name of the fabric. This time I don't. So yeah, I'm 47. You do the math. Anyway, here is my progress on this. This is the Shepherd's Bush conversion. I love the choices that they use when they do conversions, and almost every time I see that there's an option that they provide, I will do it because it just looks so, so good. So there's my progress on that. What else can I say? This is a 32 count piece of linen. And I'm doing 2 strands over 2 pieces, 2 over 2. Yeah, 2 over 2. Let's see. I'm almost done, I promise. Next up is Float Sting, which is the Plum Street Samplers and Heartstring Samplery collaboration that they did. I love this so much. I bought this last year when I was in Kansas City for camp, and here's where I am. I love it so much. So pretty. I love the colors. Very basic colors. I don't believe either designer used over-dyed floss. Everything's DMC, and this just looks so good. This is about as wide as the design goes. There's maybe one little vine over here on this side of this moth butterfly. It's probably a butterfly, but it looks more like a moth to me. Anyway, yeah, this is about as wide as it will be, and I'm stitching them on top of each other. I just think it looks good that way. Plus, if I stitched it as a pillow, I wouldn't be able to pick which side I had on display all the time. So anyway, there it is. This is a 36 count piece of, no, I think this is 40. Is it 40? Yeah, this is 40. Vintage Country Mocha, because I love a good neutral. And I'm just using 1 strand of floss. There's another piece that's in timeout. And then next up is the 4 Elements. Love this one. This is like maybe my second favorite whip behind Live on Little. I shouldn't say that. I don't have favorite children. I don't have favorite whips, but here it is. I love it so much. I didn't work on any of this in June because I had done so much in May and I don't want to get burnt out. I'm really enjoying the stitch on this. I'll probably pull it up to work on sometime this month. But yeah, this is so, so good. She originally charted it with Cosmo, and I didn't want to buy a whole new set of floss just for 1 piece. So I opted to use the DMC conversion that she also provided. This was done as a SAL. She released the water, the earth, the sun and wind, fire and wind. They were all released separately, and I knew when I saw it in person that I wanted to stitch it. So that is just a 32 count piece of black linen, and I'm using 2 strands over 2. Next up we have American Welcome, and this is Plum Street Samplers. This was a retreat exclusive. I can't remember who had it first, and when I saw it, I knew I wanted to stitch it as soon as it was available. So I kitted it up with all of the color and cotton flosses and put it on a piece of 40 count hog bristle from Fox and Rabbit. This is the secondary fabric that they suggested, and I think this is great. Yeah, I love it. I love how small everything looks. It's kind of a little dainty design. It's gonna look great when it's done. And this needle minder is one of my favorites. This came from a new friend of mine. Her name is Mindy. I did a link is my homeboy exchange on Instagram, and I had received a friend's name, so I was happy to stitch for her. That's when I did the skeleton reading the book by moonlight. And then I got a package from a girl named Mindy, and she included a card. This is a little side story. She included a card and she said, "I think I know your husband. We grew up together." And I showed him her name, and based off of what she had said in the card, he's like, yeah, we rode the bus together to school. And I mean, it's such a small world. And especially for Preston, where my husband is from, and his area of Preston specifically, nobody knows where it is. So to get her name, or to have her get my name, was just super, super cool. And I adore her. She has fast become a very good friend. At least I hope she thinks that I am a good friend too. But I feel that way about her. It was a literary exchange, and I had written that one of my favorite books is Snowflower and the Secret Fan, written by Lisa C. Go read it. It's very good. And so she bought me that needle minder, and I love it. I love it so much. Next up is Kringles from Little House Needleworks. And I showed this one to you last time. I haven't worked on it since. So because it's still so new, I'll just quickly show it to you. This is being done on a 36 count piece of old stationery from Seraphim. And I haven't worked on it since. So I'm still in the same spot. The clock face is going to be all gold. This is the department store. It's such a great piece, and I'm excited to keep working on that. And then the last of my whips to show you, I believe. Let's see, is it the last? It sure is. The last one that I'm showing you is one of my more recent starts. This is one that I started in June. I was having a day. I needed to stitch my emotions, so I thought, I'm just going to start something new. So I had purchased Mellow Yellow by the Artsy Housewife after it was released at Market this year. And gosh, Artsy Housewife, Gigi, is very quickly becoming one of my favorite designers too. So I picked up a piece of 36 count driftwood from Fabrics by Stephanie and started Mellow Yellow. And I didn't do a whole lot because that's about as much as I could handle. It's washed out. Here's a better representation of how the fabric maybe looks. There we go. That's pretty good. I love this brown fabric. I think it complements the design very, very well. The color palette, it's just so beautiful. So I started that when I was stitching my feelings. So there are all of my whips in a roundabout way. So thank you for joining me. I do have a health update. I'm excited to share it with you. If you want to stick around, please do. If not, I will tell you to have a great day stitching, and I will talk to you later. Thank you for sticking around to hear me talk about what's going on with my health. I appreciate your support and all the love and kindness that you have poured out to me, the prayers, well wishes, and everything under the sun. If you ever feel like it's not appreciated, don't. There is an inherent value in the power of prayer, good intentions, and everything else. So I appreciate it. Update. I had my second PET CT. I went to my follow-up appointment with my oncologist, and I had a handful of questions, and he talked about the possibility of chemo, the possibility of injections, the need for more testing, more imaging, and ordered some lab work and a biopsy. And he made it sound like at one point I was just going to have my residual tumor biopsied, and then I got the impression that he was going to have all three spots, and I was kind of confused. I did ask him how he felt about things, and he wouldn't tell me if he felt positive, negative, no impression whatsoever. Come at me with the word moist. My new least favorite word in the universe is ambiguous. It's a terrible word when you have cancer. So after leaving the office feeling absolutely hopeless, and I don't even know what other word to say. Hopeless sums it up quite well. A couple days later, I thought I really need to reach out for a second opinion. So I contacted someone I used to work with in an oncology setting. He is a nurse practitioner, and someone I still respect quite a bit. He's a straight shooter, no nonsense kind of guy, and that's what I needed to have. And I reached out to him, and he said, I actually have 2 colleagues in my medical group who are neuroendocrine tumor specialists. And so I thought, this is the right direction. I knew that I needed to be doing this. So I called, scheduled the appointment, got in just a couple days later. So a week after my dismal appointment with my primary oncologist, I met with this new oncologist who is a specialist. And she answered every question I had under the sun. Even asked me, well, do you know the staging and grading of your tumor? And I said, no, I have no idea whatsoever. It's been unsettling to not know and to not have this information. So she said, okay, hold up. Here, we're going to take care of this. So she wrote out a little flow chart, and I'm going to sum it up for you as best I can. Mine's cute. Hers was just full of information. So you've got neuroendocrine tumor. There are 2 different kinds of neuroendocrine tumor, the kind you want and the kind you don't want. Mine is the kind you want. And I said, okay, this is great. And she said, under this kind you want, there is a subcategory of a good one and a better one. Hey, guess what, Sarah? You have the better one. And I said, awesome. And she said, I know, right? And then she said, under this better one, you've got good, better, and best. And you know what, Sarah? You are at the best. And then she said, under this best category, you've got lab values. We want to see a specific tumor marker under 3%. And you know what yours are? 0.5%. Your tumor markers are extremely favorable. That information has been in my chart this entire time. And I didn't know this until 5 days ago, a week ago. I don't even know anymore. I don't have this black cloud sitting right here on my shoulder, just eating away at me. After she gave me that information, I immediately felt a lightness on my shoulders. She told me, this is the kind of cancer that will die with you, but this is not going to kill you. And I thought, where was this 3 months ago? I was told that this is the kind of cancer you want to have, and now I'm finding out that this will die with me. What a relief. What a huge, huge relief. So she also gave me resources that I didn't know existed. Neuroendocrine tumor support groups that are local, neuroendocrine tumor surgeons that are local, resources through the University of Utah, resources through Huntsman Cancer Institute, all sorts of information I didn't know existed until just a week or 2 ago. Things that would have been helpful to have 3 months ago, but regardless, I am so happy to have those now. I have such a lightness, and I remember waking up the day after that appointment thinking, today is the first day of the rest of my life. My outlook again has changed, and it sucks that it had to take something like cancer to bring about this kind of recognition in my life, personal recognition. It's a cognizance that I didn't know existed, and I feel guilty that it took something like this to bring it about. But I don't want to say that I'm grateful. to be on this road, because I'm not. But there's a growth and a learning that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for this. So it's a bittersweet thing to be experiencing, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, not in the slightest bit. So please, friends, get those colonoscopies and get your screenings done for everything else. This isn't over yet. It still isn't over, but the renewed sense of hope and my outlook for the future, the sense of positivity that I have moving forward is unlike anything that I have felt in such a long time. It's a welcome feeling. So there it is. I'm so happy to be moving forward and having answers to the questions that I've been asking for 3 months. So there is my health update. Such a good feeling. I can't describe it. So again, thank you for all of the prayers and offerings on my behalf. I truly, truly appreciate them. So with that being said, have a great day stitching, and I'll talk to you later.